Now we're going to talk a bit about creating and configuring the Azure Front Door service. So we should probably begin by answering the question, what is Azure Front Door? Microsoft describes it as a web application acceleration platform for global routing of web traffic, optimizing performance, availability, and scalability. So let's take that a step further and talk about when to use Azure Front Door. So if we think about regional non-web traffic, so traffic within an Azure data center when it's not web traffic, we look at an Azure load balancer. For web traffic within an Azure data center, we'd use an app gateway. Now thinking about global traffic that we're routing across multiple Azure data centers, when it's not web traffic, Traffic Manager is the service we'd look to, which leaves then for global web traffic routing Azure Front Door. So Azure Front Door, first and foremost, doesn't ride the internet. It leverages Microsoft Global Backbone. So let's say we have multiple instances of our web service deployed. In this case, in East US and West US, we have our global edge points of presence with Azure Front Door or custom URL, and Front Door will route request to the appropriate backend pool based on our routing rules. There are 4 routing rule types you should be familiar with. Latency means requests are sent to the lowest latency backends acceptable within a sensitivity range. So if I set a range of 30 milliseconds, only backend with latency of 30 milliseconds or less will be considered. Priority when I always want a primary to be used and a backup to be used only when the primary is down. I can leverage priority-based routing rules. Weighted routing rules mean round-robin and ratio based on back-end pool weights, and session affinity for when I want request from a user sent to the same back-end throughout their session. Only exam know that latency settings of 0 causes Front Door to always route to the lowest latency backend, and Front Door uses Anycast routing, which means that traffic, both HTTP and DNS, is routed to the closest environment in terms of network topology, the fewest hops. So in other words, topographically closest rather than the geographically closest. Front Door support several other features as well, including URL redirection. We can redirect traffic at multiple levels at the protocol level. For example, routing from HTTP port 80 automatically to the secure SSL channel or by host name or path. It's all path-based, so you can have different settings for different services, IP address and geo-filtering. If we'd like to exclude or block certain IP addresses or countries. SSL termination. Additional security via web app, firewall rules, and distributed denial of service protection, which will drop irrelevant traffic at the edge, protecting our service. Front Door support URL rewrite, which allows us to configure optional settings. Custom forwarding path, including forwarding host headers with the request and support for IPv6 and HTTP2. And Front Door includes health checks that allow us to configure the parameters under which a service is healthy or not.